Well, good morning. I'm going to be here this morning to tell you a few words about structure. And to talk to you about structure, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a story about New York. Number one, I love New York. It's an incredible place. Now, as you'd imagine, in the late 18th century, this island looked quite different than it does today. The southern tip of the island was populated, but the rest of the island was owned by private landowners and quite sparsely populated. There were multiple plans that were attempted to map out what the rest of the island was going to look like. And the plan that ultimately prevailed is known as the Commissioner's Plan of 1811. And that plan resembles the current layout that you all know as Manhattan today. The incredible thing about this plan, well, it's called, this outline is called a grid plan or a gridiron plan. And the incredible thing is that you can see for miles down streets and avenues, they're all so straight. Now, gridiron plans are not new. There have been known instances of grid plans in cities dating back as far as 2600 BC. And these plans helped with orientation, they helped with the movement of goods and people, they helped with defense, especially when you compared that with the layout of cities where the streets were grown organically. FICO's product portfolio, we offer products that allow you, sorry, can you come back a slide? We offer in our product portfolio, we offer solutions that allow you to configure decision strategies with as much or as little structure as you need. The great thing about the grid plan is that, as I said, you can see from one end to the other. And when you think about a product portfolio, you need the ability to be able to see what decisions, are going to be reached for each of your customer segments. And you need to understand the characteristics that define those segments and the analytics that stack rank them. And you need the ability to say that for this particular customer segment, this is the treatment that you're going to get, and this is how it's described. Our product portfolio, we offer products that provide as much or as little structure as may be appropriate for the circumstance. For multidimensional and complex multidimensional decisions, however, you need an approach that is structured so that you can see the end game to how your decisions are going to be made. Otherwise, what ends up happening is you make changes upon changes upon changes, and it becomes really difficult to understand exactly how a decision has been made. So if you think about a regulated environment where you need the ability to explain to a regulator how a decision was reached, that becomes a very, very difficult thing to do. We offer this structure in a product that we call FICO Strategy Director. FICO Strategy Director builds upon the experience of FICO Triad Customer Manager, which has been around for quite a while. Triad is our key product in the portfolio management space. Now, the thing about portfolio management decisions is that when you're making a customer decision, you effectively need to make multiple decisions in one go. You need to be able to make decisions that describe the customer in all aspects. And it's used in heavily regulated environments, so you have to be able to explain to the regulator how the decision was reached. In Strategy Director, the grid plan is something that we call a decision flow. Now, this decision flow is an 8-step process that I'll talk to you a little bit about briefly. And the decision flow, it starts with coarse segmentation and ends with very fine segmentation. The first step in this process is a bypass exclusion. A bypass exclusion is just effectively a way to eliminate accounts customers, transactions, or whatever else you're making a decision on, depending on your industry, from further consideration in this process. If you can think about a bypass exclusion very similar to a policy rule. So for example, if you're an auto lender, and you have decided that you are not going to lend a car to anybody under the age of 21, and a 19-year-old prospective lender shows up, obviously you're going to exclude them. So that's a very simple example. The second step in this flow is the definition of population groups. Population groups are a way that you have to segment your portfolio into high-level segments and effectively establish the high-level boundaries for how you're going to treat all of the customers in that population. The advantage of that is that you don't have to establish those boundaries for each individual segment. You do it at the population group, and then it applies across the board. So it simplifies your management of your decision strategies greatly. The other thing about population groups is that you can track them as a single entity and understand how they're performing over time to see where it is exactly that you need to make changes or improvements. Following that, we configure a strategy assignment. So the strategy assignment is where you're going to say, for each population group, this is the strategy that I'm going to apply. It's also where you define where your champion and challenger tests are going to take place. And in Strategy Director, you can configure as many champion and challenger tests as may be necessary to run your business. And then we orchestrate decision areas, which is just defining which decision areas are going to apply and in what order. And finally, the decision areas themselves. Now, decision areas are where you're going to effectively make the decisions to accomplish the specific business objectives that you need to accomplish. When I refer to multi-dimensional decisions, I am effectively referring to the ability to make multiple decisions through different decision areas in a single go. So let's double-click a little bit about what happens when we get inside a decision area. The first thing that we do, if you want to, is to score. Scoring allows you to establish the stack ranking of your customer, your account, your transaction, or whatever you're making a decision on based on whatever performance criteria that you may want to define. Now, in a lot of cases, you may not want to do scoring here. You may want to do it upstream using some advanced modeling techniques that are available as part of the decision management suite. Or you can do it right here. Next, we perform a local exclusion. So since we're within a decision area, there are going to be specific contexts where you will not want to make a decision for this particular customer in that decision area. Let's say, for example, you're in a decision area that treats customers that are delinquent. If that customer is not delinquent or overdue in any way, then of course you want to exclude them here. Next is the fine segmentation step of the strategy. This is where our users spend the bulk of their time. We call this the strategy. And it allows our customers to make very precise decisions that result in the assignment of an action set. And the final step in this flow is the action calculation rules, which takes the action sets and transforms them into the decisions that our customers ultimately want to make. This decision flow effectively allows you to perform a series of multidimensional decisions very simply. As I said earlier, it starts with coarse segmentation and ends very finely, which means that if you want to make changes to a large swath of your portfolio, you can do so in the initial steps to my right. And that's right, to my right. And you can also make changes to very narrow subsegments of your population by making changes within the ends of the strategy. And so you can make very precise treatments very easily, requiring very little testing. The decision flow makes it easy to configure, manage, explain, measure, and improve. In regulated environments, it allows you to make sure that your decisions are fair and equitable, and to demonstrate that to the regulator. And the multidimensional decision areas allow you to ensure that your customers are treated consistently across the board, regardless of the touch point. Going back to Dave's toy analogy, using the decision flow to build a Lego airplane is like using airplane-shaped parts to build that airplane, rather than being limited to, strictly speaking, the atomic blocks that come in all of the Lego packages. So it makes it a lot easier to do so. The other thing is that it allows you to have comprehensive reporting. Your speed to market, your speed of innovation is unmatched. The elegance of this decision flow is like the gridiron plan of Manhattan. You can see for miles. Twice a year, the sun's orientation perfectly aligns with the orientation of the city streets of Manhattan. This event is colloquially called Manhattanhenge. It's true. And it happens earlier in the year, so you won't have an opportunity to see it this time. But if you do have an opportunity to come to New York for this, I strongly encourage you to do so. If the weather is nice, as you can imagine, it attracts a lot of tourists and visitors. And I would encourage you to try and come to New York for that. I would also encourage you to come and visit us at the Solution Center, where we have experts that are here to talk to you about the decision flow, and that will be able to explain how the elegant and simple process can work for your business, whether you're in a retail bank, whether you're an insurance company, whether you're an auto lender. As long as you're in a business that requires multidimensional decisions that are complex, and on top of that, if you're in a regulated environment, you will find value in the decision flow, and our experts downstairs on the second floor will help you understand that. They will also help you understand how Strategy Director fits into the overarching decision management suite, and how by combining the overall capabilities of our various products in the portfolio, you can really drive additional leverage and accelerate your business.